Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sunset TV. I am Namrata Singh and you're watching Perspective. India's Chandrayaan-2 mission has achieved a remarkable milestone by making the first ever observation of Sun's coronal mass ejection effects on the Moon. This discovery made by the CHASE-2 payload on board the lunar orbiter marks a major step forward in our understanding of lunar and space weather phenomena. During a rare solar event on May 10, 2024, a series of CMEs hurled from the Sun impacted the Moon, causing a sharp rise in the pressure of the Moon's dayside exosphere, the Moon's extremely thin atmosphere. This became the first experimental proof of how solar storms can alter the lunar environment. ISRO scientists say this finding will not only deepen our understanding of lunar space weather, but also help design safer lunar missions and future bases that can withstand such solar events. India's space journey has been full of landmark achievements, from Chandrayaan-1 confirming the presence of water molecules on the Moon to Chandrayaan-3, making India the first nation to land near the lunar South Pole. And now Chandrayaan-2 adds another feather to ISRO's cap, taking India's lunar science to new frontiers. So to discuss what this observation means for India's future lunar missions and how it adds to the legacy of our Chandrayaan and other space achievements, we're joined by an eminent panel of experts. I'm pleased to welcome three distinguished guests joining us virtually. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Ajay Lele, DDG, Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defence Studies and Analysis. Doctor, pleasure to have you with us on the show today.
Thank you.
I'm also pleased to welcome Professor Astrophysics retired Jayant Murthy, Indian Institute of Astrophysics. Professor, glad to have you with us, sir.
Thank you.
We also have Mr. Suresh Kumar HN, former Deputy Director, Mechanical Systems Area, URSC, Bengaluru. Thank you for joining us and welcome to Sunset TV.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Ajay Lele, let me begin the discussion with you. You know, Chandrayaan-2 has for the first time observed the effects of Sun's coronal mass ejection on the Moon's exosphere. So could you explain in simple terms what exactly happened, what exactly are coronal mass ejections, and why is this observation significant for India?
In some simple terms, if one has to say, when Sun gets angry, there are coronal mass ejections which takes place. So there's a lot of physics, plasma physics, which is associated with it. But what happens is that whenever you will have an impact of a space weather on any systems, particularly if I have to talk in the context of Earth, just a couple of years back in the year 2022, Elon Musk had launched around 49 satellites. And within a day, because of CMEs, his 40 satellites had become unserviceable. So basically, coronal mass ejections impact the activities which are happening into the space, particularly in the context of satellite systems, which is having electronic components over there. So similarly, what we have witnessed and what ISRO has identified based on last year's, that is 2024 observation about a coronal mass ejections happening on the Moon surface. As far as Earth is concerned, Earth has got an atmosphere. So there are a certain amount of layers which actually stops the bad impact of coronal mass ejections on the surface of the Earth. But as far as Moon is concerned, there is no, technically speaking, atmosphere. There is something which is called as an exosphere, which can start from the surface of the Moon to say around 100 kilometers. Again, there are differences amongst the scientific community about the exact definition of exosphere. But whatever coronal mass ejections happen, they directly impact the surface of the Moon, which is not the case as far as Earth is concerned. So the moment they impact the surface of the Moon, as far as surface of the Moon is concerned, there are a certain amount of gaseous elements which are present over there. It could be water vapor, it could be argon, it could be sulfur, it could be helium. So these types of things then start rising in the altitude over there. And there is a certain amount of a pressure, which is a temporary form of a pressure, which gets created above the lunar surface. So if any activities which are going to happen, maybe a robotic activity or a human activity, they need to factor these types of things.
Okay.
These things do not happen every day, but one has to factor these types of things because now you're going to increase the activities on the Moon, whether it is a robotic or human activities.
Okay. Professor Murthy, you know, until now, the effects of Sun's activity were considered mostly limited to Earth. And Chandrayaan 2's observation now show that solar storms affecting the moon's surface too. So from a scientific perspective, how important is this finding? How does this advance our understanding of the lunar environment, and what challenges or opportunities does it present for building future lunar bases?
Let me correct you a little. We've known about CMEs for a long time, and we certainly know that they affect satellites that are beyond the Earth's protective magnetosphere. So we know that they affect the moon. We knew that, for instance, if Apollo astronauts had happened to be on the moon when there was a big solar flare, it could have been a very dangerous event for them. So we've known all of this. What this event does is it provides a measurable, it allows us to quantify some of these numbers.
Okay.
So now we know a little more about how to protect people when they're on the moon. We know a little more about how to protect equipment that's on the moon. It adds quite a bit to our knowledge of the solar corona. They've been studying the solar corona from a number of spacecraft, both Indian and international. And the Chandrayaan data adds some crucial bits to that data, allowing us to understand more about why the solar corona is so hot. It's so much hotter than the surface of the sun. So this helps us understand that. So in that sense, it gives us a broader picture of the sun and the effect that the sun has on the moon and on spacecraft that are outside of the Earth's geomagnetic field. It's as we continue to explore interstellar or interplanetary space, as we continue to go to the planets, as we continue to go to the moon, it is important for us to understand and maybe even predict when these storms will occur. And so this will play a part in that.
Okay. Mr. Kumar, talking about the technological aspects, the Chandrayaan missions have carried sophisticated payloads like CHASE-2, terrain mapping cameras and spectrometers. So how have these instruments contributed to the scientific discovery, and what technological innovations were critical for their successful operation on the moon?
In fact, if you look at the evolution of this Chandrayaan project per se, we had the first launch of Chandrayaan 1 way back in October 2008. In fact, we have now completed almost 17 years of Chandrayaan 1 launch. That was on 22nd October. Today is 23rd October of 2025. So major accomplishments in Chandrayaan 1 were basically with regards to the chemical, mineralogical and the photogeological mapping of the moon while orbiting the moon at around 100 kilometers orbit. And also major technological challenge of Chandrayaan 1 was also on discovery of water and hydroxyl molecules on the lunar surface, and evidence of lunar surface activity also. There were quite good amount of evidence of these things that were got. So in fact, these type of discoveries changed our perception of moon. All along we were thinking that moon must be a static or an inert or dry surface, but there are also a lot of surface level activities that are happening on the moon. So we came to know through major technological findings that have been got by the Chandrayaan 1 mission per se. Chandrayaan 2 subsequently got the lot of information on elemental abundance, then temperature profile near the South Pole. In fact, Chandrayaan, Indian Chandrayaan missions have the distinct feature of landing attempt in Chandrayaan 2 and actual landing in Chandrayaan 3 near the polar region of moon where nobody else had gone earlier. So technologically, I would say that has been a significant achievement with regards to the quantum leap between Chandrayaan 1 and sort of unsuccessful attempt of landing on Chandrayaan 2 and a successful demonstration of successful landing on Chandrayaan 3. So these things have been major technological advances, and in terms of payloads, in terms of science coming from moon, these instruments have greatly contributed towards our understanding of moon.
Definitely, they have greatly contributed. Dr. Lele, when Chandrayaan 2 was launched in 2019, there were initial challenges with the Vikram lander. It was even believed that the orbiter would just last 1 year, but it's still operational and has provided invaluable data. So if you could tell us, how did this mission reshape India's understanding of the moon and lay the groundwork for future explorations?
I think, as it was rightly pointed out, our journey started with the success of a Chandrayaan 1, where
Right.
we were able to identify the presence of a water molecule on the surface of the moon. That itself motivated ISRO scientists further. And in the subsequently in the year 2019, we undertook the second mission to the moon. I will call that mission not as a failure, but that was a partially successful mission. And that has been proved now, particularly with this recent discovery of the solar storms impacting the moon's surface. As far as Chandrayaan 2 mission was concerned, it had two parts. One was an orbiter, which was supposed to enter into the lunar orbit and operate initially at around 200 kilometers and further subsequently down to at around 100 kilometers of altitude above the lunar surface. Our Vikram lander and the rover system unfortunately had to undergo a hard landing. But we had learned quite a bit of things from that hard landing. We had changed our algorithms. We had added a lot of further possibilities of what may go wrong. And subsequently, it has shown successfully in Chandrayaan 3 mission when our rover and a lander system perfectly worked on the lunar surface. The more important aspect of the Chandrayaan 2 mission was that whenever you launch a mission for a rover and a lander system, generally you require a support of an orbiter also, because that orbiter actually calculates the exact location where you can land the rover and a lander system based on various observations. And for communication purposes also, that orbiter helps you very much. Now, what happens is that in present context, when we launched Chandrayaan 3, there was no requirement of a orbiter system because our orbiter, which was launched during Chandrayaan 2, was working perfectly all right. This orbiter was initially planned for 1 year lifetime, but today it has been now found that since the launch was so successful, there was hardly any fuel wastage happened. So the orbiter's lifetime is now 7.5 years.
Okay.
So just have completed 6 years, and within these 6 years, our Chase 2 and other sensors, the 8 payloads are there on orbiter of Chandrayaan 2. They have given different types of observations. Chandrayaan 3 also has given different types of observations about moonquake, about the presence of whether sulfur on the surface of the moon or that, about plasma observations. Then there are certain observations about in situ temperatures also. So all these observations, when we put them together, it's going to help us in our Chandrayaan 4 and Chandrayaan 5 missions.
Okay. Professor Murthy, picking up that point given by Dr. Lele on the Chandrayaan 4 mission, from Chandrayaan 1 discovering water molecules on the moon to Chandrayaan 3's historic landing near the moon's south pole, and now Chandrayaan 4's ambitious plan to collect lunar samples. So tell us something about the Chandrayaan 4 mission and how would you view India's journey in lunar exploration and its emerging role on the global stage?
Say, I would focus, if we're focusing on science, we have to look at science as an international endeavor. There are many missions to the moon. There are many, China has a very ambitious lunar program. We're part of the Artemis program, which is going to go to the moon soon.
Right.
And so I think it's more important to contextualize what we're doing in the context of the international science environment. So sample return is something that is very good to do, but the Chinese are already doing it. And it was a matter of some disappointment to me that no Indian scientists were involved in any of the sample return.
Okay.
The Chinese did offer samples to any country that was, or any scientists who were interested. But as far as I know, no one from India asked to see the lunar samples. So I do think it is important. I think that sample return is a wonderful technical accomplishment, and I think that the fact that Chandrayaan 4 will do sample return, I do think that is an ambitious objective and something that's well worth doing. But it is also still important to understand that science is an international collaborative activity.
Okay.
And we do have to collaborate with scientists abroad. they have to collaborate with us. It would have Chandrayaan-1. The water results came from a collaboration with Carly Peters, is it, of Brown University? I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but I think Carly Peters of Brown University. And it was a joint American-Indian experiment that did discover the water on the moon. So this is where we get real advantages, real boosts in our research, where we build on collaborations. And so this is something that I would like to emphasize is important to do with our science, with Chandrayaan and with the other planetary missions too.
Dr. Lele, India's Aditya L1 mission, our first solar mission was launched in 2017 to study the sun and its dynamic activity. So tell us more about Aditya L1 and how its finding complement missions like Chandrayaan-2 in helping us understand space weather and its potential impact on our planet and future space missions.
You see, as far as space weather is concerned, it is slightly a less discussed subject. It has been impacting various activities, whether on the surface of the Earth or particularly as far as satellite systems are concerned. Many years back in 18th century, few teleprinters also got impacted because of the harsh space weather. So we have understanding of a space weather quite some time. There have been various experiments which have been undertaken jointly by the US and European Union also. There is an observatory called SOHO Observatory which is looking at the sun. So Aditya L1 was an increment towards that.
Okay.
It is a totally indigenous Indian mission which is known as the Aditya L1, that is placed at a Lagrangian point 1. And it is understanding the corona, like it was already pointed out by one of the speakers about the impacts of corona and to know more about it. So Aditya L1 is contributing towards that. Then we have launched even a mission by the Europe also, which is a two-phase mission where again the sun is being studied. So one can say that globally there is a concept of a space situational awareness, and under the space situational awareness, space weather is getting discussed and studied. So in a global level, one can say that Aditya L1 results are actually helping the models of space weather, because you have to really forecast what is the space weather. And there are few agencies in the world who are based on numerical modeling are trying to understand and trying to forecast the space weather. Because your satellite systems do get impacted, and if you get certain amount of a early warning, then definitely you can do certain amount of a minor modifications into the orbits of the satellites, which may eventually help you to guard those satellites against the, one can say, a bad impact of the space weather. So now space weather has been taken very seriously all over the world, and now recent India's findings because of the Chandrayaan-2 data, that there could be an impact of a space weather when you're looking at the moon also very seriously. Because all these years after Neil Armstrong has gone, only 12 people have gone to the moon. But now again there is an activity. India is also planning its human mission to the moon by 2040.
Right.
So you need to factor in all these activities. I'm not saying that space weather will impact your day-to-day activities, but when it will come, it will have a very bad impact onto the activities, particularly the human activities. If you are trying to undertake certain amount of colonization of the moon, if you're trying to establish certain space laboratories, moon laboratories on the lunar surface. So all these activities will require various inputs, and India's contribution either by Aditya L1 or by in form of a Chandrayaan-1, Chandrayaan-2, Chandrayaan-3 and Chandrayaan-4 also, which again will be a very interesting mission. We are planning a Chandrayaan-5 mission also along with Japan. So there are a lot of things which are on the table.
Okay.
The US has got a program called Artemis program, which is again looking at moon very seriously. China's Chang'e 6 mission has already successfully brought the samples back to the Earth. So there are a lot of countries, a lot of agencies which are looking at the moon very seriously. And the events like this, which India's Chandrayaan-2 has picked up very timely, is definitely a larger contribution to the global understanding of how to approach the lunar surface with safety and security.
Okay, absolutely. Mr. Kumar, ISRO's missions from Chandrayaan to Mangalyaan and to the upcoming Gaganyaan mission showcase India's technological prowess in space as well. So could you highlight the key technological innovations that have enabled these achievements and how they are shaping India's future in space exploration?
Actually, these type of missions like Chandrayaan 3, Chandrayaan 4 or forthcoming missions, Chandrayaan 5 or any of these things provide enormous technological challenges. Many new things need to be developed and proven before it is actually flown to space. Say, for example, take the example of Chandrayaan 4. Chandrayaan 4, we are likely to have the docking that is to be done and then land on the moon surface, sample the, collect the samples. Then again, we have to rise from a moon surface, come back to Earth, and then dock onto one more satellite which is orbiting around Earth, and then safely return back the sample to Earth. So these type of technological challenges are the ones which give lot of strength to the scientific community as to how to achieve these things, what are the new innovations that are required to be done, new materials to be developed, new processes to be developed, and new softwares, and all types of integrated effort of many of these things. They are the technological challenges. So that way, already towards that, one good step that has been taken up already is a successful conduct of docking experiment in space. SpaceX missions are a very positive direction, indicators of we are going in the nominal direction with regards to the future lunar explorations. Then again, with regards to rising from moon surface and then coming back to Earth as it is envisaged in Chandrayaan 4, we already had a baby step done in Chandrayaan 3 lander itself. Before the end of mission of Chandrayaan 3, the lander, there was a hop experiment which was conducted wherein the lander rose from lunar surface for a few meters and again maybe a meter or less than a meter, and successfully the methodology of or technically how to conduct such type of activities on moon surface, there has been a glimpse of that already exercised. So that way there has been good amount of technological challenges that come in the process of doing all these things, and that gives enormous amount of enthusiasm and strength for taking up all these activities in a confident manner.
Absolutely. There are technical challenges, but Professor Murthy, India's space journey reflects an incredible spirit, from launching a small rocket in 1963 to achieving breakthroughs like Axiom 4, which marked India's first astronaut visit to the International Space Station, paving the way for Gaganyaan. So there was a time when, India was counted in the third row globally, and today ISRO has placed us in the front row. So how would you describe ISRO's role in India's rise as a space power?
I would also like to highlight AstroSat, which was India's first astronomy satellite and has just completed 10 years in orbit,
right,
with really remarkable scientific results. So in that sense, there has been a lot of progress in science. The amount of the ambition of India's space ambition has really increased by leaps and bounds to the point where we're planning to go to Venus, maybe other missions to Mars. So I think it is a marvelous journey. What I would like to see more of is more science involvement in these. These have been a lot of technical advances, and those have been remarkable. I would also like to see growth in our scientific community, both in planets and in astronomy or in solar physics, where we start to build more ambitious instruments to send to space. So I think we've done a lot in the past. I think a lot has been accomplished over the last so many decades. And I think the future is bright, especially if we focus on collaborations between scientists and engineers, and if we look for international collaborations also.
You know, Dr. Lele, India's space program is not just about exploration, it also drives national development. Over the last decade, ISRO has completed 100 missions and the space budget has nearly tripled, reflecting strong government commitment. So with the Pager 2014 reforms, opening the sector to private participation and international collaboration, how have these changes transformed India's space capabilities and how are they shaping the next phase of the country's space journey according to you?
I think I look at India's space journey at 2 to 3 levels. One is a scientific level, other is a commercial level, and the third is a socio-economic level. Particularly what happens is that, to my mind, ISRO has peaked at a right time in the history of a space. Because if you look at the birth of agencies like SpaceX, the Elon Musk agency, which actually has revolutionized the space systems. His company came into being, it started launching satellites by 2013. And subsequently, the space-based internet and other activities have started becoming very prominent. So if you trace the journey of a space, all over the world, the launching of a satellite was very minimal till one can say 2010. Subsequently, a lot amount of activities have started happening because of the commercial activities happening in the domain of a space. And particularly for the space-based internet, Starlink program and other constellations of the satellites, thousands of satellites are getting launched.
Right.
That's said that India has peaked at a correct point in a history. And now India has also opened up its commercial sector. There are a lot of startups which have now started delivering the results also in India. These startups are doing their individual jobs. These startups are also playing a very significant role towards ensuring that ISRO space program gets a good amount of assistance. So today in India, if I say that if India launches a rocket, if ISRO launches a rocket, there's a tremendous amount of a contribution by SMEs, MSMEs, and even HAL also contributes a lot. So one can say with confidence that now India is looking at all aspects of a space in a very systematic fashion. So we started with Chandrayaan-1. Now we are planning a mission to the Venus also. As far as our socio-economic developments are concerned, our satellite systems, particularly the remote sensing satellite systems, the communication systems, the Navik system, which is slightly progressing with a lesser speed, are playing a very important role for socio-economic development of the country. And on a commercial front, because of the new policies as far as opening of a space sector is concerned, now we have even permitted 100% FDI on a case-by-case basis in the domain of a space. So it is very encouraging as far as future of a space is concerned.
Okay,
we have got a lot of programs, Gaganyaan program, India wants to establish its space station also. So
Absolutely.
I think it's not there to achieve, but we are on the right track.
Absolutely, we are on the right track. And last question, Mr. Kumar, considering the progress India has made in space exploration since independence, where do you see India standing as a spacefaring nation, let's say in 20 to 25 years from now?
Yeah, already there has been a roadmark, as told by our Honorable Prime Minister, that we have to land one Indian astronaut on lunar surface by 2040 or 45 time frame. We have to have Bharatiya Antariksha Space Station, Bharatiya Antariksha Station by year 2035. So good amount of activities are going on. In addition to that, there have been demand by the society. So for example, we need to have continuous television broadcasting and telecommunication satellites, remote sensing satellites, GPS satellites, weather forecasting satellites. So the satellite and related technologies are part of our daily life, and we cannot imagine a life without the support of satellites in the days and internet. And all these things are space enabled activities. So definitely the future for space and space activities in India is definitely very bright. And ISRO and the space related activities that are going on presently, they're in the most appropriate direction.
Absolutely.
In fact, all these activities also have one last point I would like to have.
Right.
Like it will have a good amount of non-tangible benefits. For example, among the student community, there has been an enormous amount of interest in space science. Many universities are offering courses in space science. There are an MTech courses which are offered in space science and technologies. So these are all positive things. More and more people are getting knowledge or interest in these aspects. and definitely that is good for India and India's scientific progress.
Definitely, and the future is bright. And India's space program today stands at a defining moment, evolving from a journey of exploration to a mission of leadership. So as the country prepares for its first human space flight and ventures further towards the moon and beyond, it signals to the world that the future of space belongs to nations that dare to dream. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Perspective. Thank you, Dr. Ajay Lele, Mr. Kumar, and Professor, for joining us and for shedding light on India's growing strides in space technology. And to our viewers, thank you for your time. Stay tuned and keep watching Sunset TV.